In our daily lives, we experience a variety of negative emotions like anxiety, depression, jealousy, guilt. But I cannot think of an emotion which is more toxic, more contagious, and more dangerous than anger. Millions of marriages could have been saved from divorce if one or the other spouse had controlled his or her anger. And millions of prisoners would not have been in jails if they had been able to control their anger at the right time. I'm Dr. Saad Malik, Professor of Psychiatry at Shalimar Medical and Dental College, and today we are going to talk about certain concepts regarding anger and then certain strategies to manage anger. The anger that I am going to discuss is basically the anger in which we lose our judgment and insight because of the terrible emotional reaction that we create for ourselves. In fact, this anger is a form of temporary insanity because we do and say things which we never do in normal circumstances. I'm now going to discuss 5 concepts relating to anger. Number 1 concept says, much that we would like to think. Please understand that people and events around us do not make us angry. It is our perception, evaluation, and interpretation of these events that makes us angry. Most people do not understand this because they attribute and they blame circumstances and people as the cause of anger. But please understand, people say and do things in keeping with the knowledge and information they have. Your reaction is something that you create yourself, and because you create it, you can also uncreate it as part of anger management. The second important concept is that most people think that we are too old to learn, or we are the way we are, and this is how I am. But anyone can learn anger management unless your brain happens to be damaged. Number 3, anger is a choice you always have in a situation. It's not a knee-jerk reaction, but it becomes a knee-jerk reaction because we have chosen not to exercise this choice. And hence, in every situation when we have other choices, we immediately go to the choice of anger because we have been trained so well in doing that. Is all anger healthy? Well, except in one situation when you have to save your life. I think if anger can help you do that, there's nothing wrong with it. But all other situations in which you become angry, you are punishing yourself for the mistake of another person. And that is needless, and I don't recommend it. Many people ask, and this is the 5th concept, is expression of anger better or is suppressing anger better? It depends on the duration and the kind of situation you are in. Perhaps in certain very special situation, maybe a brief suppression may be necessary. But if you are chronically suppressing your anger, that can be very damaging for your mental and physical health. So in such situation, expressing anger in a controlled situation is probably a better option. But I have a 3rd option, and that is not to needlessly become angry in the first place. If you master the art of anger management, you will be able to decide when to become angry, how long to become angry, how much to become angry, and very importantly, when not to become angry. So these are the basic 5 concepts that you must focus on, because people think that anger is something they can do nothing about. It's triggered by outside events in people, but this is completely wrong. Now let's come to the strategies of anger management. And the first strategy we have for you is, please watch your self-talk, what you say to yourself. As I said to you earlier, anger is not generated by events and people outside you. It's generated by what you say to yourself, which makes you angry. So the moment you are getting into anger, ask yourself, what am I saying to myself? And you will be saying one of these sentences: he or she must not do that. He or she should do that. So wherever you find a should and a must, you are going to respond to that inner voice by becoming angry, but you wrongfully attribute that reaction to events and people outside you. So learn to challenge these thoughts by following 3 statements. Number 1, people have the right to be wrong. Number 2, one act does not make a person evil. Condemn the act, but do not condemn the person. And number 3, you must understand that people behave in situations, whatever they are, but even in the worst situation, say to yourself, I can always stand what I don't like. So number 1 strategy, watch what you say to yourself, because your anger is not because of the environment or people, it's what you say to yourself about these that makes you angry. Number 2, whenever somebody says something to you which upsets you, like criticizing you, ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, is this criticism true? In which case, you should thank the person for pointing up a problem. He or she is now your teacher. And if the criticism is false, then allow that person to have an opinion about you which is different from the opinion you have about yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that. The 3rd strategy is, people do wrong things, negative things for 3 reasons. Number 1, they are intellectually not very competent. Number 2, they are emotionally disturbed. Number 3, they are ignorant. You will notice that in every situation that makes you angry, if you look at the performance of that person and try to categorize that behavior in one of these 3 categories, you will be able to do that. And then you have a reason for the person to act in a certain way. And then getting angry about that seems quite useless. So most people do things wrong, not because they are deliberately trying to upset you or hurt you, but because they are intellectually deficient, they are emotionally disturbed, or they are ignorant. The 4th strategy is to remain calm and try to delay your reaction. You can stay calm by doing deep breathing. You can stay calm by counting backwards. You can stay calm by changing the situation, but try to delay your reaction of anger. And if you can do that for more than 20 seconds, chances are that your reaction is going to be a little less severe than otherwise. Please give in on non-crucial issues. Don't make a war out of every battle. We have a tendency to make it a matter of ego that I will not give in. Please understand, giving in on non-crucial issues is a sign of maturity. It is not a sign of weakness. Let me repeat this. It's a sign of maturity that you know when to give in, and not a sign of weakness. This is particularly true where relationships are involved. Where relationships are involved, try to give in on non-crucial issues, but save the relationship rather than doing it the other way around. And finally and lastly, forgive. Learn to forgive people not because you're doing a favor to them. You are doing a favor to yourself. It's very hard to carry somebody on your back all the time. So forgive, let go. Not as a favor to them, but for your own peace of mind. Many people incorrectly feel when you forgive somebody, you are condoning the evil act that person has done, or you are approving of it. No, it's not that. You are doing a favor to yourself. And remember, we also talk about forgive and forget. I am not in favor of that, because if you forget, you will get a kick in the teeth every now and then. So forgive, but let it remain like a neutral memory in your mind so that you don't get cheated again, you don't get deceived again. So coming to the conclusion, anger is something that is a response to what you say to yourself. It is not something that happens because of events or what people say. And number two, it makes no sense paying the price for somebody else's mistake. Anger, when you get angry, it's like holding a cactus and throwing it at the other person. You hurt your hands in the process. Or holding hot coal and throwing it at the other person. It may or may not reach that person, but you are bound to get hurt. So don't pay the price for somebody else by becoming angry yourself. And lastly, you have 4 choices when you become or you choose to become angry. I like the word choose because frankly, when you master anger management, you choose when to become angry, how long to become angry, how much to become angry, and when not to become angry. Please understand, every minute that you are angry, you lose 60 seconds of happiness.